Speaking about Lebaran, speaking
Yes?
about Idul Fitri, speaking about Ramadan,
Hmm.
it's like Siska mentioned earlier, we're going to talk to someone who's been living abroad in Boston, I believe.
Yes, that's true. So, to talk about her experience spending Ramadan in Boston, we are now joined by Shifa Safira Wulandari, an Indonesian living in Boston. Hi,
Hi,
Shifa.
Shifa. How are you?
Good morning from Jakarta, but we believe it's evening there in Boston, right?
Yeah, hi. I'm good. How are you? It's like 9 p.m. in here.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Shifa, to begin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself to give us some
Mm-mm.
context about your situation in Boston at the moment?
Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Shifa. You can feel free to call me Shifa. I'm actually from Palembang, Indonesia, and I am currently studying public relation in here. I'm a master's student in Boston University. I've been living in here around 7 months. I believe that I still remember that my first day of class was like September 3rd in 2024. I actually get a scholarship from LPDP in by the end of the 2023 back then. And yeah, I just began my study in 2024. And this is actually my second semester in Boston University.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So that means, is this your first ever Ramadan in Boston?
Yes, this is my very first Ramadan by, being far away from home. I mean, it's crazy, but yes, it's fun.
What has been the most challenging part of spending Ramadan there, Shifa?
um, let's say, talking about what kind of thing that very quite challenging. It's not really about a fasting period. I'm pretty sure that most of the people think that if you're studying abroad, you might have like a longer period of time when it comes to fasting. But since you are in Boston area, it's also similar to Indonesia. It's like around 12 and a half hours, and thank God, Alhamdulillah, it's very manageable. But the interesting part so far that I've been experiencing in here is like, the time shift is very quickly in here. So let's say in Indonesia, we can like kind of get used to with the same schedule every week, like when you are going to have your iftar, when you are going to have your sahur. But in here, like every day, it's going to change like 1 or at least 2 minutes, and it's kind of like tricky for me because I still have to keep an eye on um, my phone, the notification when the adhan is going to be happened. And I kind of like sometimes skip it, or maybe I miss the schedule sometimes. I thought it's not iftar time yet, but it's actually Isha already, which is like kind of like, oh, that's crazy for me. And the thing is, I also need to keep an eye on with the daylight saving time as well. So the Ramadan in here is began on by the end of the winter season. It's going to be like spring so far. And when it comes to like daily saving time, the time will be shift. So back then, in the beginning of the Ramadan itself, I waken up for sahur around 4:30 a.m. and I have to prepare for my iftar around 5 p.m. And after the time shift, it's more like 5:30 is your deadline to do the sahur, and the iftar is going to be around 7 p.m., which is kind of like quite challenging and quite tricky. I have to keep an eye on the notification, the time change, and because there is no adhan as well in here. It's quite different compared to Indonesia. You know exactly when you are going to have like your sahur and iftar. But in here, you have to remind yourself like, okay, this is the schedule for your iftar and this is the schedule for your sahur. And yeah, and the food, well, yeah, that's kind of like, there's a lot of things shift in here in terms of food because I kind of used to eating like nasi goreng made by my mom, like soto rendang and everything. It's just very comforting. But here it's like lamb and curry, and sometimes you also have to, have another type of menu, like Western menu for your iftar, which is bread and sandwich. I mean, like, what is that? If you're Indonesian people having iftar with bread, I mean, like, you're not even eating. I don't think that you will consider it as iftar. There's a lot of things change actually.
Okay, I love it. Sounds like you're missing Indonesia a little bit, Shifa. Missing
Mm,
all the food,
yeah.
you're missing your mom's cooking, you're missing all the spices of Indonesian food. So tell us a little bit about Indonesian community
Mm,
in Boston. Have you been hanging out with them? Do you
yeah.
have access to Indonesian food? Have you been doing things in Ramadan together with
Mm,
the Indonesian community in Boston, Shifa?
So far, actually, it was kind of surprising because, you know, there's a lot of, when it comes to like Muslim community, there's actually a lot of Muslim in here. The Boston Muslim community is kind of huge. There is over like 50,000 of Muslim people in here. So let's say that it's up to 2 to 3% of population of people living in Boston is actually a Muslim community that coming from Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, even Southeast Asia, and yeah, there's a plenty of Indonesian student as well, and there's a lot of number of Indonesian student as well because in Boston, in Massachusetts itself, it's like a home of a lot of university in here. Let's say Boston and Cambridge itself, we got like Boston University, which is my campus. We also got Harvard University, we got MIT, Boston College, Northeastern, and other university that each of them always have Indonesian student there, which is quite huge community in here. And I actually also the part of the IMSA. IMSA is like Indonesian Muslim Student Association for the Boston chapter itself. I manage their social media so far. So shout out to my team. And I also part of Pengajian Ikro, which is quite traditional by the name. You know exactly that, oh, there's a plenty of Indonesian community in here, in there. Like they're like more like a family community base. So in a month they always have like you know communal prayers and communal gathering as well, and all of the mom in pengajian ikro will serve you with the whole ayam balado, rendang, soto, and I'm so glad I'm being the part of that community. I wish that I could say like somebody in Boston, like any Indonesian mom in here, I hope somebody would love to adopt me. But it's fun, it's so fun in here.
right. So you get a slice of home, even though you're so far away in Boston. But Shifa, we're also wondering, we're quite curious actually to learn how you adapt to your life in Boston during this Ramadan month, especially your life as a student. Like, do you explain yourself to your lecturer, to your professor, and to your fellow students who are not fasting and really unfamiliar with the rituals of fasting of Ramadan about your fasting needs?
Yeah. Um, Actually, as you know that United States is a big country. They also kind of used to actually with the whole diversity concept itself. At first, before I came to United States, I thought that all the people in here would be ignore me so much because I'm the minority. I'm very Southeast Asian from my skin, from how I look. I thought that people would just ignore me every time they saw me. But in here, they're very considerate. They really care a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So once you explain that, hey, I'm going to start the Ramadan month in here. Like, you know what? I'm going to fasting like 30 days. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know Ramadan. You're going to do that fasting, no waters, no food, like from dusk till dawn. I was like, yeah, that kind of thing. And I was like, and they was like, oh, that's crazy. You still kind of alive? And I was like, oh, of course I'm alive. And I was like, yeah, that is pretty fun. They're very considerate. But they're also in another hand, maybe it is also something new for them. They're not really kind of used to it how it's going to be, but they are really supportive. So even in case that I in the middle of a class, so I actually have like 2 night class which start around 6:30, and the iftar time in here is around 7 p.m. I have to ask my professor like, hey, can I get like 30 minutes break? I have to break my fast and I have to do prayers. Would that be okay? And they were like, girl, tell me everything that you need. You need a quiet room for prayer. You need some space to have your dinner. Just let me know and make yourself comfortable. I don't care if even if you have sometimes to skip the class, I don't care. As long as you are stay healthy during the Ramadan, that would be perfect for both of us. They're very considerate and supportive.
That's so
Wow.
comforting to hear.
Yeah, that's super
To
nice.
hear that they're holding space for your Ramadan.
By like extending their
Yes,
fingers,
I know.
just like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. So, Shiva, I mean, you explained earlier that you do social media as well, and before this information gets skipped, can you tell us a little bit about the kind of content that you are posting and
Yes.
whether us in Indonesia here can take a look at your slice of life in Boston, and if you
Yes,
wouldn't
please.
mind sharing also the, I don't know, maybe Instagram or TikTok handle of the social media.
Oh, yeah. So the Instagram name is oh my God, I'm good. Going to, promote a little bit about the community in here. I hope they might raise my, salary. No, it's joking. It's volunteering based. So the Instagram story itself, the Instagram itself, it's called IMSA Student Chapter Boston. So I post some kind of like me and my friends, we produce some kind of like content related to like let's say that now we are focusing on the Ramadan. We do some kind of reminder every Friday, like Jumu'ah prayer. Have you done Jumu'ah prayer? Have you done the Sadaqah for like Jumu'ah? And of course we have to like try to do our best to make our content kind of like friendly to more general public because we are the part of minority. So even in case that we are going to post it on social media, make sure that everybody, even if it is your friend that coming from different religion, also understand about the content as well. And we're also producing some kind of reels about what kind of activity that we've done with the IMSA itself. Sometimes we have like a fireside chat. Let's say that few months ago we got visited by a friend coming from Japan. They're like having some kind of like business in Japan, and they bring like a very unique gift from Japan. It's like the Quran, but it was translated in Japanese. Like it was translated in kanji or katakana or hiragana. I don't remember, but it was pretty cool because it was my very first time saw that, oh, even the Quran right now is not only translated in Bahasa and English, but it also in Japanese. And we know that in Japan itself, that Islam is, gradually, getting bigger and bigger in terms of community of Muslim people in Japan as well. And it's very precious. And we are also having some kind of like monthly let's say in Indonesia we say like monthly kajian. Yeah, so we like spend a lot of time together every month, like having some kind of like halakha, reading the Quran together, and even spending some kind of time and in mosque in the mosque itself in Boston itself. Like a fun fact, we got a lot of mosque in here. Like actually, the closest mosque to my apartment is like two stop with the green line. It's called Yusuf Mosque, and we also like Islamic Boston, ISBCC we call it, and we also do some kind of like sometimes we gather in there as well to you know strengthen our faith and supporting to one another. Sometimes all of us like bring different stories from our different perspective as well when it comes to Ramadan. Some of us of course missing our family, and yeah, that is the kind of thing that we kind of do with that community. And that is also our daily life and activities and that kind of things that we are posting on the social media itself. It's like reminding to one another that sometimes it can be hard to be like minority and you also being far from your family. I know it can be hard. You miss them a lot, cannot deny that. And having such a great community like IMSA, I feel like I've been supported by so many times by so many people, Indonesian students as well in here. That is just something that I think that I've been blessed since I moved to America. I thought that I'm going to be so far away from being a good Muslim, from being close to my religion in the context of Islam, but it feels like I'm getting closer. I'm getting better in here.
Shifa, it's so nice to hear that you found, friends and
Yes.
platform in Boston to flourish together. If you don't mind repeating one more time about the handle, the
Yeah.
Instagram handle.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Would that be okay if I show you? I don't know if I can show you through my phone. Like this is actually some kind of content that we produce in IMSA Student Boston. So you can check it on the Instagram. It is like, oh, I hope I could show it. Like Yeah, we post some kind of like our activities, like let's say we have like communal community gathering and also community iftar. It's like weeks ago. And we also post some kind of like reminder about what you can do during Ramadan and how to, keep yourself healthy during Ramadan as well. And we all also posting some kind of like our community activities. We also connecting to one another. It's not only about sharing some kind of perspective about Islam and how Muslims shouldn't survive in United States in the term of Boston, but also we are sharing our experience from student in New York as well. Some kind of like that. We have like some kind of like live Instagram as well with them, and we are kind of like spreading all of the message that hey, living in the United States as a Muslim, as a student, is not that bad at all. I know it seems scary in the first place, but it's just super nice. And I hope that I could invite my family here and share them that living in the United States as the Muslim is not that bad.
Great to hear. So,
Yeah.
Indonesian story, chapter Boston, is it?
Um, Indonesian, Indonesian Muslim Student Association, IMSA, chapter Boston.
All
Okay.
right.
Shifa, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us and have a good Ramadan in Boston.
All the best, Shifa.
Thank you. Thank you
Take
so much.
care. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you and have a good one.
Wow, how nice, Scott
It was
Becker.
wonderful.
That's great, using social media as a
Yes.
platform to share slice of life and also to make people less intimidated about
Yeah.
moving to the United States to study.
Exactly. And it was quite heartwarming to hear how she tells about being so far away from home, from
Yeah,
her family, actually makes her feel closer to her faith. I
yeah,
think that's a very encouraging story for people who are still having doubts about going abroad, especially during Ramadan.
absolutely. So good luck to Shifa, and
Yes.
we're looking forward to see you back in Indonesia.